How is it going, fight fans? Joey G from Wrestling Headlines, and I am joined today by a very special guest. He is Los Angeles based singer and songwriter Ian Abel, who, if you are a fan of AEW, has had his music featured in count them, two AEW pay per views, including the inaugural Double or Nothing 2019 event. Mr. Ian, thank you so much for joining us today, brother. How's it going?
It's good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. I was very excited. As I told you off call, big fan of the music, big fan of the sound that you're going for. Dare I call them haunting ballads that you've lent our ears to. I've also been told that you, sir, are a big wrestling fan, and that is where I wanted to start. Me personally, I find music is an essential part of everything in filmmaking, in sports, in pro wrestling. These video packages are so very important. What was it that sparked your pro wrestling fandom?
Oh man, the Dead Man, Undertaker, being a kid and seeing him coming out, not like understanding what wrestling was, and just going like, "Who's this guy? He's raised from the dead. Like, was killing people and put him in coffins? Like that." I was just
That I understand. Yeah, I too myself a fan of the dead man. How could you not be? How could you not be a fan of the supernatural? A man that could literally make lightning fall from the sky, raise the dead, escape from a casket, and you know what? Then turn into a biker badass years later and
oh yeah.
make it work. So as I said before, I do find music to be an essential part of everything. And before we get to your personal music, I was thinking about some of my favorite pro wrestling video packages and how important the song was in the build up to the match. Classic example was the Mania 17 build up between Stone Cold and The Rock, and we had Limp Bizkit's My Way playing underneath. Do you have a particular favorite theme, pro wrestler theme, a favorite song in a package, anything where you think music, you also think pro wrestling?
That was gonna be that was gonna be my answer. Um, as far as like themes or lead ups, that would be my answer. In terms of something, when you hear glass shatter, the first thing you think is Stone Cold's about to come running out,
Mhm.
start chugging beers and laying people out, So same with, if you hear a gong, like, oh my God, here comes Taker,
Mhm.
get wrecked.
Yeah, and it's been fun too to see how certain musicians have been able to kind of adapt or even remix pro wrestling thing, because pro wrestling and music has always kind of gone hand in hand for years. I'm a personal fan of, I love folk, I love rock, I love classic rock, I love punk rock. I also love hip hop, and I know that hip hop people love, love, love. Ric Flair is a common topic in hip hop. Meek Mill once used the Undertaker's Gong theme to do an entire freestyle, and only created more buzz about not only the Undertaker but himself. So it's always fun to hear a musician's perspective, hear what they love, hear how that inspired them. Because I said music is so important to the business. But let's start talking about you, my man. As I mentioned per my intro, you had your song "Shoes" featured in the Double or Nothing 2019 pay-per-view event. A beautiful, beautifully haunting song that helped build up the beautiful, haunting fight between two brothers, Cody and Dustin. Was this song written specifically with this match in mind, or had this song already been written?
I wrote that song when I was 19 and skipped the class in college, and I had to like go to the piano room and flush an idea out.
Mm-hmm.
I had sent that to them because we were in talks of, Cody was looking for a particular sound or a
Mm,
song he wanted, and it was in the oh God, it's not Left for Dead, it's Red Dead Redemption. There's
mm.
something on that game that he heard, and he wanted something in that vein, and I was like, okay, well here's the song "Shoes" I have to kind of like prove that we could do it. I can sit down and write something, but just here's that, and then so I sat down and wrote what ended up being "Not Afraid to Die," and the whole time for the first probably 2 weeks or so, we were talking, going back and forth about it. I had no actual idea that he wanted shoes
Mm.
instead until he sent this email, and it's all caps with like three exclamation points. All it said was, "I want shoes." I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, I'm playing catch up here in this whole thing."
Yeah. You're like, lower your voice, Cody. No reason to use all caps. Like, I could hear you.
Yeah, it blew me away at first because I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I didn't, to be honest, like I didn't know who the match was with, and I
Mm,
don't know why they would tell me.
mm.
I did all that. Treat me like mushrooms, feed me shit, keep me in the dark, like whatever. Yeah, we're just talking music. That's it right now. And then it comes to find, like, I come to find out, it's him versus Dustin, and like then it made sense to me. I was like, oh, but at the time he said I wanted shoes. I was like, God, was he fighting Brandy? Like
Mhm.
this match is
Well, we do hope for that match in the future. You know, the nice the intergender between the Nightmare family just falling apart. You know,
uh,
the thing is that that song really does help build that particular story that they told in that match so very very well. Even when you're watching the music video that you shot compared to the video vignette that they used. I noticed some similarities. I mean, I noticed like the way Dustin looked in the mirror, kind of almost exactly reflects the way you looked in the mirror prior to going on stage for your music video. Is that, you think, intentional? You think that happened? That was a happy accident?
well, so we did the video came out after ours did.
Mm,
Um, so that would be the director Mitch Parks. It was all like his idea. And actually, the cool thing about that is he was filming our live show. We headlined the Troubadour at the end of May. And so towards the beginnings when Double or Nothing happened. And then we're headlining the Troubadour in Los Angeles at the end. Mitch is coming to film it, and he's also going to direct this video for me. And he's like, "Why don't I?" Like he had the idea. He's like, "Let's do all this."
mm.
And so that was actually our like green room was a super black, kind of like dark and maybe smelly. Like it's the Troubadour. That room hasn't been cleaned ever. I think this was our green room, and he was like, "Okay, I got it. This is exactly what I want and what I thought I was looking for." And so all praise be to Mitch Parks on that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you know, when you watch them back to back, you notice the flavor, the theme, the heart and soul of the song and of the match. You know, you get it was just cool, a cool visual to see you staring back upon yourself, and then see Dustin staring back upon himself just after having reinvented himself. It's a very very emotional song. It's nice to know that it's carried with you for some time. Uh, how do you feel about the match overall? I feel like it told that story and kind of lifted your words and made them even more important.
Oh yeah, it took what I think. I personally think it's a great song. I wrote it,
I
but
agree.
I think is a great song, and it put it to this whole new level. I was like, I remember watching because they played it they played it in the right before the pay-per-view,
Mm,
and then they played it again right before the match, the whole vignette, and then the match happens, and then now Dustin's bleeding, and the way it ended, and it cuts to, and JR and them are like got tears in their eyes, I'm sitting there going, holy shit, dude, my song was a part of this. Like
mhm,
I
mhm.
was blown away. I was like, God, I thought I had a great song, but that just, that elevated to something that there's no way I could have seen that coming, or
Mhm.
done anything that like that cool on my own. Let's be fair here. That's a match. I mean, it's like the match of the century
Mm,
to me. When I think of great matches, that one, maybe I'm biased. I'm definitely a little bit biased, but I got to talk to Dustin backstage before everything COVID happened, and we were talking, and he was just like so pumped. We were just talking about that match in
mm,
particular. He was
mhm.
like, "I'm so happy it came out the way it did," and I was like, "Me too, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
me too."
I really cannot think of a match where, you know, people will talk about work rate, people will talk about all these things, but in terms of pure emotion, you know, driving out pure emotion from the people and from the competitors in the ring. Of course, the post-match angle only makes everything more emotional. And you know, right when I stopped crying after the match ended, you know, then he asked him to be his partner for the ensuing show, and then the waterworks just fall. So, you know, I truly mean this, and it's not just because you're a guest with me on Wrestling Headlines, but the song set the stage. You know, it really, really set the stage for what this was about, because it had, like you said in Red Dead, this old Western feel, this old cowboy getting ready to go out. And I think you captured that perfectly. And it's just cool to hear about the origin of the song, where it started from, because songs have stories, man. You know, they started here and they will continue, and this song will be forever cemented to this moment in time. So that's cool. Now let's
I,
talk about your other big. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I said I'm super happy about that.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about your other track. Well, you have probably have many, many more, but let's talk about your other track that was utilized by AEW. Not Afraid to Die. You mentioned it. This was used for the Full Gear 2020 pay-per-view and the match leading up between Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes.
Mhm.
Why don't you tell us? We found out about the origin of shoes. Why don't you tell us about the origin of this one? Was it to originally be in Double or Nothing?
I thought, yeah, the majority of the time we were talking about getting the song licensed and this and that. Yeah, I thought we were talking about Not Afraid to Die because I got a hold of Brandy and we talked, and then she showed my song Walkout to Cody. He liked it, which I was like, oh, this is sick. And so I sent him shoes to show that we could do that, country western vibe and that he was looking for. And they said they really dug it. So I took it upon myself. I was like, I'm going to go in the studio with my friend John Graber, who's an incredible producer. And I was like, I'm going to go in and I, let's just like write something. Let's
Mm,
just lay something down. And I went one night to like my rehearsal space, and it was just like a bottle of whiskey, me and my guitar, and like I watched some like Cody highlights and stuff I could find on YouTube, and
mhm,
watch some Dusty stuff, some Dustin stuff, not even knowing that they'd be fighting. And I just Not Afraid to Die, came out. And then I go the next day, Saturday, meet up with John and him. Our buddy Reed got involved. They work together all the time.
mm,
And yeah, we just hashed it out, and I laid down the acoustic, and then the song really wrote like the music of it really just kind of came out in one day. Everything just fell into place. I laid down the chords and the lyrics, and we sang it. And I'm super fortunate to be able to work with such incredible people. Not only like to have worked with AEW, but like my friends are incredible sound designers,
mm, mhm.
incredible recording engineers and mixers. And so we were able to get together and do everything in a day. And I was stoked because I'm like thinking, dang, I wrote this song in a day and they're going to use it for Double or Nothing. Like,
Mhm,
that's
mhm.
that's not the case. Now I'm sitting there going, man, I got this freaking haunting, like cool, like ballad thing, something about a cowboy again. And like,
Mm,
now I've just got this song, which is also cool, but
mm.
what am I going to do with it?
What are you going to do with it? Well, you know what? I actually think, as fate have it, it ended up landing in an even better position because, if you look at a character like Darby Allen, the character clearly of a man who's already half dead, clearly of a man who isn't afraid to take the risk. And it was specifically in that matchup because he'd already lost to Cody on two occasions prior, was not afraid to do whatever it took to finally be able to overcome that peak. And again, I think your song, Beautiful Job, added to the layer and to the intrigue of what the matchup was going to be. Because honestly, I don't think it was a foregone conclusion. I don't think people assumed. So one thing that, I personally have always liked about AEW is that it is not as predictable as people make you think it is.
Agreed.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I thought, now seeing where the song landed, and seeing how that match played out and how that story played out, why don't you give me your thoughts specifically first on Darby Allin? Because I feel like your song and him kind of live not only in the same world, but in the same universe. Like, I feel like you should be writing his themes on a weekly basis because I feel like you're capturing whatever that sick bastard is going through.
Somebody who knows Darby very personally, tell him that because I
Mm.
agree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Darby Allen, especially to see where he starts like at the pay-per-view, the inaugural one, Double or Nothing, and to see how he's grown into this super fan favorite.
Mm.
I believe Jericho was talking before about he loves wrestling the young and up and coming guys because there's people that the companies have that they think are going to be their favorites or whatever, but then you look out in the crowd and you got kids dressed like Orange Cassidy, you got
Mm.
kids dressed like Darby Allen. And I mean, Darby is this like half dead, like he does not care. He You're gonna hit him, he's gonna keep coming, he's only gonna come back stronger. I mean, the coffin drop might be my favorite move if I really think about it because it's so cool. Like, who's gonna get up and do a trust fall? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like from the top rope or off ladders, wherever. And I didn't think Darby was gonna win that one. I really didn't, and he did, and I was like, oh crap, this is different. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it made it even cooler because I was like, wow, my song was used for that. And Darby, when Darby won the TNT title, like
Mm.
championship, I was like, oh, that's even cooler. Like that took a twist and made it's even better for the song.
Well, listen, as I said before, I could talk music with you all day, my man, because I like to consider myself a music aficionado. But because we are on a wrestling show, let's
Yeah.
kind of keep it a little bit wrestling themed here. You already said you're a big fan of Darby Allin. Kind of a two-part question here. Who do you see personally as a big fan of the promotion and as a big old school fan of wrestling? Who do you see as the next big breakout in AEW? And if there's a particular person in mind, do you feel like you could create a song, create a ballad, create a tale that could help take them to the next level?
I'd like to say, first off, I think I could write a song for anyone for sure.
There you go.
Um, man, next, okay, it's kind of weird. Not a weird question. It's tough because the obvious answers are like an Orange Cassidy or someone, but also Orange Cassidy's already taken off. I think he was like number one in T-shirt sales or something like that. So I think, hmm. So another one was like Scorpio Sky, but he's also already got a name. But okay, for instance, for me, the thing with Scorpio Sky that I think I don't know if he's gotten like acting lessons off to the side or something, but Scorpio Sky is somebody who I think is remarkably improved. It's like how do you get better? Well, his
Yes.
character and his acting and everything when he's on the mic, everything Scorpio does is just a little bit more elevated now.
I 100% agree. I believe you could tell there was a confidence zooming from that man. Not saying that he's never had before, but you could tell there's more touched in. Even when you look at interviews, the way he's doing, the way he's speaking to the press, the way he's mentally preparing himself for this big ladder match coming up on Sunday, I 100% agree. And that would be a perfect example of someone that's getting ready to break through to the next echelon.
Scorpio, I think in time, um, Jungle Boy. I personally, I like Jungle Boy. I like the character. I think he should maybe lean in. I know he probably didn't want to, but to his actual uh, I guess family name, you know, Hollywood Bad Boy or something like that. And over time, I think Jungle Boy, he's got all the talent. He's got the looks and the best hair in the biz. So don't tell Jericho.
Oh, hey man, I was just gonna say he's got the second best hair, at least in this podcast room, because those
So
beautiful curls are falling down. I tell you, Ian, I've had such a blast talking with you today about wrestling, talking about your music. I only got one more question for you, brother, and thank you again for joining me, Joey G, in Wrestling Headlines. We've talked about your knowledge of pro wrestling. We've talked about your lineage to the dead man and all these things that made you love the sport and whatnot. Let's talk about now your future. What do you have coming up? What are you working on? And specifically, what excites you about the pro wrestling circuit right now? It doesn't have to be AEW specific, could be whatever you want.
well, I mean, the pro wrestling circuit, I think a lot is revolving still around AEW with how they're working with like was it Impact,
Mm.
and I think I don't know. I could see for me what would be very exciting is if to see AW and so you got like Moxie's going to go back over to New Japan, doing a lot of almost like territory trading again, but globally where wrestlers are going to. I mean that's awesome to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
That's probably most exciting. So even though it's not, you said it doesn't have to be AEW related, it still is because I find them
Still
to be.
can be. It still can be. I mean, listen, man, I'm the fan like you. I'm excited for this big signing coming up on Sunday. I don't know
Man,
who it could be. A lot of people have been rumored that
who do
it
you think?
could.
Who do you think is going to be?
Me personally, I think it's going to be a New Japan guy. I wouldn't be surprised if Okada comes out. I'm not trying to raise my expectations too high because I could also totally see it being like Paul White, but under a different name. Like here's a big signing. I'm the Giant again or something like that, which again, totally fine with, but I'm not trying to keep my expectations up. But that's the thing about AEW. I mean, they keep you, especially during these pay-per-views, the surprises keep on coming. How about
Yeah.
you? Who would you say?
Um, I would love. Oh my God, his name's blanking me. He was the champion of NWA. Who's
Oh,
I
Nick,
think he's Nick
Mr.
Aldis.
Nick Aldis. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's him, but I would love that because I think he's for me, he's one of the top 5 wrestlers I think in the world for me. I think the what he was able to do with NWA and is just remarkable, you
Yeah.
know?
I was fortunate to speak to him recently and I felt underdressed, so I threw a suit on because I was like, it's the world's champion. You know, you're wearing a suit, you're so proper. And then, he showed up looking handsome as ever, just in a nice t-shirt. And I was like, now I'm an asshole wearing a suit over Zoom. But we had a good time. Yeah, Ian, anything you'd like to plug, my man? I want to know what else you're working on, what kind of music. We have a couple more minutes here. Why don't we talk about your music influences? We talked a lot about wrestling, but who influences you as an artist, specifically in the type of music and the type of songs that you like to write?
So I don't think this band, I don't think I write like them at all. Maybe you could say my guitar playing's akin to David Gilmour's, but Pink Floyd's my favorite band, even though I
Mm,
don't write like them. As far as things I do write like, Jason Isbell, Chris Stapleton, you could hear influences from them. I think they're amazing. I will always say we're like if like 86 Metallica, like that attitude fought Leonard Skinner back in the 70s. Like that's kind
Inside
of
of a cage match.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of that's where I kind of see the vibe going. But
Mm,
just stuff we got going on. Like, so there's prowrestlingtees.com, right? They have a sister store that does all the merch for pretty much anyone adjacent. Like Fozzy does all their merch through there called Below the Collar, where we've been approved for a store there. So we're going to start putting out t-shirts and merch. We got music we haven't put out yet. It's just kind of waiting to see, because you can't really play, but now they're
mm.
open things. And it's like, do you actually want to play those things though? Like
Right, right.
it's a weird time. So writing a ton, gonna record more, and just I don't know who knows. Like I had no clue I'd be sitting here, when I talked to Brandy and Cody.
Oh,
Now,
boy.
who
Well,
kn-
you know what? These are, turbulent times that we're living in, especially for musicians. And I personally know, as I have musicians in my life that I'm close to, how hard the pandemic has hit. But we appreciate you giving you the spotlight and being able to continue to make songs like Shoes, like Not Afraid to Die. I personally am very, very excited to see what you do, Mr. Abel. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, man. This was fun.
All right, of course. God bless, brother.